Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Redneck Ways. How's everybody doing out there in YouTube land? Hope everybody's had fun, dandy. Not doing too awful bad here in old Kentucky. It is Tuesday evening, guys. It's 10:30, and been just sitting around. Actually, I'm plumb stuffed. Went and got me a sub from Subway, and it was actually good this time, good and fresh. So. But yeah, I thought, guys, we kind of scan through the channels. We'll hook up the external antenna and we'll see what kind of news is happening together. I haven't checked on the news today. And but before we do that, we've got to work on the radio itself because the antenna wires came off. So I need to solder those back up here where they go. Wish I had some new antennas. These are getting in bad shape. But before we get going on that, guys, I don't know if you all have been having problems with spiders, but I have. Where I work out here in the shed all the time, I have seen I've seen a big old hairy spider about that big around yesterday. It was crawling down the wall, and it was so fast I couldn't catch it to get rid of it. And then I saw something that looked kind of like a brown recluse coming off the ceiling, dangling right in front of my face, and it took off. I couldn't get it, and that one scares me the most. So, but my mom suggested these glue traps, and so I've got these everywhere. I've stuck them everywhere where I won't be, because they are super sticky. They will stick to you. And also, this stuff right here, this home defense. It takes a little battery, and it just squirts right. And I sprayed everything down. So hopefully, I've got rid of the spiders for a while. Nothing against them. I just don't want them in here on me. But I've been tinkering around today, and I was over in Dad's old toolbox, and I was looking for a socket. And I ran across this here, this wrench, and I got looking at it, and I was like, you know what? I bet you anything that's one of those tools that came in the Model A's. And because when Ford sold you a truck back in the 20s, they would give you a tool set to go with it, and that's what this is. It's a Ford USA. So I got looking into it, and I got thinking, and for the guys out there who's watched me for a while, you know I've talked about Carol, the guy that I use a lot of his equipment, because he used to be our neighbor, and when he passed away, he left a lot of stuff to us. But this is him right here, and look what he's standing by. And just so happens, when he passed away, he told his wife to make sure my dad got his tools. Ain't that cool? So I guarantee you, this wrench probably went in that Model A. I can't prove it 100%, but I mean, there's a good chance it is. So I got looking it up because I got curious. It's called a monkey wrench. I don't know why it's called a monkey wrench, but I was wondering why it had this little square point, and come to find out, that's to take the plug out of the oil drain, so you can change the oil, I guess. That's why it's shaped like that. So tomorrow, if I have time, I'm going to go through all those tools over there, and I'm going to see if I can find any more of them. And I've got to look up and see exactly what Ford gave in the kit, and keep my eye out, and if I find any more, I'll show you guys. But I thought that was kind of neat. I looked them up, and I thought it'd be worth a little bit of money. I always like, I don't know why, it's a bad habit, I guess, but everything I find old, I like to Google it. And they're not going very much, about 20 bucks tops. But I guess, you know, Ford, he flooded the market on everything. But I wouldn't get rid of it, just for a simple fact. This is 100% U.S. steel. It probably came from Bethel Steel. And you're just not going to find steel like that no more. It's just good old-fashioned United States steel. That's what they made that out of. And proudly got USA right on it. So thought that would just be neat to show you guys. But like I said, I was wanting to listen to some news. I haven't heard any today. I've been so busy. So I was going to go over here and hook this up. And I thought, well, I like to make a video for tonight. And I thought maybe I'd bring you guys along. And then I thought, well, I got to fix the radio first. So let's get that done real quick. It won't take but a minute to get those wires soldered back on. Well, hopefully, anyway. Hopefully it won't take long. This is my old Lloyd's radio. Out of all the radios I have in-house, this is, for some strange reason, my favorite. I've done a lot of work to it. I mean, as far as looks, it looks pretty rough, but I've got her playing pretty good. When I first brought it home, the volume pot was all sticky and you couldn't turn it up without bad static. The headphone jack was pushed plumb in it. I had to fix that. I had to find a nut to hold the speaker earphone, because I've got a pair of Pioneer earphones that I like using on this sometimes. And I've just done like this and that with it. And it really picks up good. It's one of my best DX radios I have. And it's a solid state. It's not too, but it was made good. It's made in this. It's in a wooden box. Some of it's missing. It's supposed to have a door that closes all this complete. Here's the rail down here that it goes on. And I don't know if it had different door. I don't know if it had a door like closed here and then one here. I don't know if it had two or one big door. But this used to close up. So, let me quit my yakking. Let me get this soldered on. I only know how. I've done this 2 or 3 times. I think it looks like I snipped it last time. I may have. I may have snipped it last time, because that's right, because I was just wanting a straight shot from to the external antenna. So I guess I could still do that. I know what I can do. I'll just add an extra wire. I'll add an extra piece of wire, just make it a little longer. That way the antenna, if I don't want to use the external antenna, I don't have to. So we'll just get some little wire. Because I just went in here and snipped it. That's what I did. So now I'll just do this. If I can. Actually, what I'll do, I'll solder. I'll solder this wire where it goes. If I can get down in there, it's in a tight place. Just like new. Alright, now I'll go over. Oh, I can't find my piece of solder. I know I have another piece of solder. Anyway, we'll attach this wire here. And that way I can have the external antenna or the actual antenna with the radio. This one has cut me off another piece of solder. I keep losing solder, and I don't want to waste too much of this Kester. I found this at the flea market. I love it. That's my favorite brand. It's expensive too when you go order it. I have used already a bunch of this. It was almost half a roll, and I'm getting low again. Got this thicker stuff, but it's about gone too. My gosh, I went through the solder. You would think I work on radios or something. I don't know. I can't get this. I don't know where in the world is the beginning. Hear the deer outside the shed. I got a buck out there every night before I go in. He grunts at me. I always pay attention, make sure I know where he is. I don't want him stampeding me. Get this, guys. We'll listen to some news. There we go. Put a little solder on my soldering iron. Alright. I need to put this somewhere where I don't lose it this time. Because I know I just cut a piece like that off. Here, I'll put it right here. And I'll probably forget it's there. Alright, let's unplug the soldering iron. And let's plug up the radio. And let's get the external antenna out. Clip it on. Let's see what we listen to. Oh, that's the power. We're on a shortwave one, guys. Let's go through it and see what we can listen to.
My ketchup or mustard. I think mustard on fries. Anyway, now what do you got?
Esa temporada típica de América y bueno, pues todavía no hay resultado a esta hora, pero sí van a jugar, sí.
With probably a great excitement, it's like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for president. We know him better than anyone, and that means he's all about is just for himself. So this state will go solidly behind Joe Biden for president, as it has in the past.
Well, let me just quickly analyze this, what you just said. New York State went for Ronald Reagan in 1984, 40 years ago. It has voted for Republicans since 1984 as governor. Many congressmen are Republicans from New York. So to make a bold statement that New York will never is kind of, I wouldn't go that far.
Why and what? The day of Pentecost, that pouring out was equipment for service. You heard me say that in my opening comments. Equipment for service to be able to fulfill the great commission given in Matthew 28. Go out.
Republicans could probably win even more. One thing that needs to be understood, And I
Again. Lord.
people, and I look at the character of the local communities when they vote in the off years, it tells a different tale. I really believe people are discouraged at certain elections. And maybe that's what needs to be changed. Maybe we need to have a different attitude about voting. Maybe people should say, okay, even though the odds may seem against it, I'm going to go and do my part anyway because it's something I should be doing. Number one, I should get out there and vote. I should vote for the person that poses the least threat to my faith. In other words, your church. You are voting. Maybe people should say, okay.
You really almost have to use it to believe it. It's BioNOPower. Their website, BioNOPower.com, and their phone number. I told you I'd give it to you again. Write it down.
Didn't do it like that. You born again. Any person who looks
It's for. I don't care what your battery requirements are.
Survivability. Kathy Hochul is a threat to all three. Joe Biden is an absolute threat to all three. And both Biden and Hochul,
then to have questions that you never had before. How many people
in the face of Christ, there's no other way to say it. Everything she claims to believe, she's walked away from. Yet she dares to think she can walk into a church and be communed and go to Mass. But then again, you now have what I call the Antichrist Pope in charge of the Catholic Church, and he's proving it by giving us all roads lead to heaven nonsense. Your Pope is a fraud. Your church is being taken from all things.
You've only created and given a nature and allowed to exist so that man could study it, figure out their nature, their qualities, put it in textbooks, and of course,
suscrito por organizaciones cubanas dentro de la isla y en el exilio, que plantea 10 puntos de coincidencia.
Visit his family members and obtained transcripts of secret recordings of her husband. According to two sources with direct knowledge of the situation, Israeli officials then attempted to use the material to discredit the prosecutor.
I want to say wiretap is an old term. They were hacking private communications, phone calls, maybe planting listening devices in her home to get dirt on her so that they could use that information saying, well, we have a recording of your husband saying this. You better back off. The world may know something about you someday. This is mafia tactics.
Yes.
They were
And they're doing it against the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. See, they don't fear anybody. They don't believe that anybody has jurisdiction and authority over them. That they're a global power. They're more global than the globe. They're more global than the world. They're super global. If you think like they do.
Now, is the hidden story in here really the takedown of Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, I think that's where it's going. That's not what Mr. Cohen was trying to do. He was trying to head off what just happened.
But the implication from the Guardian is that he was following Netanyahu's orders to do it.
Yes, the Guardian is providing his enemies with the evidence Okay, good point, Doc, because now the Israeli political opponents of Netanyahu can say, look what he did. He ordered our Mossad chief to threaten the court. Now the court is coming after us. It's not us that they want, it's him.
Netanyahu and Gallant.
We gotta turn them over so they'll let Israel alone. They're going to spin it in their favor. And I don't know. Yossi Cohen may get caught up in this also. He could be indicted for obstruction of justice. Man, this is getting deep. Hey, I gotta go. We got Morning Manna coming up. It's a really good lesson. Don't miss it. Study the Word of God.
I'm going to push pause, guys. I'm going to go all the way back over here because we didn't do that part of the dial. Alright, we're back. Okay. There's all kinds of strange noises on here.
These stations are beamed on India. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro, Channel 1. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. Our programs are also available on TuneIn, Radio Romania International 1. We wish you good reception conditions.
The Romanian government is to adopt this week a decision to raise the minimum salary to 3,700 lei as of July 1st. And the Romanian Foreign Minister, Luminița Băbescu, warns about Russia's hybrid attacks on the Republic of Moldova. The Romanian government is to adopt this week a decision to increase the minimum wage to 3,700, which is approximately 740 euros, starting July 1st. The leadership of the ruling coalition has decided according to political sources. The coalition also discussed means of reducing budget spending by limiting it to what is strictly necessary, but also maintaining the cap on trade markup and extending it to all Romanian food products. Traders do not reject this idea, Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu said, explaining that in France the measure has already proven its effectiveness in protecting domestic producers. In Romania, over 200,000 candidates have registered for the local elections and 494 for the European Parliament elections, both due on June 9th. The youngest candidate is just over 23 years old, and the oldest is 100 years old. Over 18,900,000 voters can vote in the elections in over 19,800 polling stations in the country and abroad. 30 associations and foundations were accredited by the Permanent Electoral Authority to have observers at the European parliamentary and local elections on June 9th. They can assist in all the operations of the electoral offices of the polling stations. The Romanian MPs have increased the severity of penalties for several crimes and introduced other acts into the scope of criminal
justice. Is that over in Romania? That's all they're talking about.
Neighbors or exert pressure of any kind to force it.
would then vacate their Sabbath from sunset.
The bad thing about shortwave, it comes and goes, you know what I mean, guys? There's nothing I can do about that. Trying to get that Morse code in.
Anybody should know. And so I hear they're putting 2 people on 1 ventilator, which is not a great idea, but that's what they're having to do. And so he got his 3,000 ventilators. Matter of fact, I think it was Ford Motor Company that retooled a plant to make ventilators. And here we are in the year 2024, 4 years and a matter of months since the ventilators were delivered, the 3,000. They're all still in boxes, never were used. Oh, well, what does that mean? It just means the narrative. And for a while, the Governor Cuomo show was a pretty popular thing nationwide, and he was getting all kind of acclaims. I mean, he even won. Was it an Oscar or some, best performance thing from Hollywood? He was becoming super popular. The problem with Andrew, his ego got in the way of his usefulness. And that happens to a lot on the left. On the left, I've learned one thing. You can be a reprobate, you can be just a despicable person, you can have some real moral failures, and they don't care. As long as you are useful, they will hide it. They will cover it up. They will deny it. They will provide you all the shelter you need in the media. Nobody cares. Go back several years ago, before the pandemic. There was a guy in Hollywood. He was super popular among leftist politicians because he gave lots of money. But when his usefulness declined, the Me Too movement took him down. He's in prison for sexual issues. Andrew Cuomo was becoming a little bit too popular, and I'm sure that it was damaging the ego of the little cockroach. You know what I'm talking about. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the human cockroach. He was starting to get a lot more, shall we say, airtime and popularity than Fauci, and Fauci couldn't stand that. And on top of that, Cuomo was beginning to think for himself on what should be done and going beyond the approved narrative.
Oh, what you will hear on the radio, guys.
To Andrew Cuomo.
Very beginning with Creation Week. Would you just turn now to Genesis chapter 1 and read the first 5 verses for us? If we had no other scripture to prove when the day began.
Condemnation. You remember we stopped and we studied hell. We studied the consequences.
We're getting a lot of stations on shortwave.
All could only prevent condemnation and now the righteousness of God.
You've always been good at manipulation. You've always been the meat ball of the family. And I'm proud of you. And then we'll go fishing, we'll have a drink, and we'll laugh about it.
Governor Andrew Cuomo and CNN anchor Chris Cuomo have been in the New York spotlight for decades. Their dad was former Governor Mario Cuomo. Now the rest of the country is getting a peek at their back-and-forth brotherhood banter.
Curfew, I don't like the word curfew. Dad tried to have a curfew for me. I never got past the resentment. But I do believe you'll see more tightening if the numbers don't slow.
The problems with the curfew. It's the least of your problems, just so you know.
I never fight. You violated the curfew all the time. Caused much pain, but that's a different story.
I don't believe in you.
See, they're even naming it here. They call the light day and the darkness they're called night.
Yeah, you see, that makes a lot more sense. But then how do you explain the last phrase? Okay, so it says, and the evening and the morning was the first day. Now, wouldn't that suggest that it starts at night?
Right after they named the light day? No. What it's explaining here is what constitutes a complete 24-hour period or a complete date. You start with the light, that's the day. You go through the day and finally come to the dark.
And then we stopped last week at this verse and went and studied sanctification. This word here, sin, hamartaina, to miss the mark, not sharing the prize. It's not saying that everybody is lawless. It's saying that everybody has missed the mark of the glory of God. Nobody is perfect.
Produce pulses in the millions of amp and tens of terawatts, exceeding the power of a lightning strike by orders of magnitude.
News, guys.
Explosively pumped flux compression generators are popular as power sources for electronic warfare devices, known as transient electromagnetic devices that generate an electromagnetic pulse without the costs and side effects of a nuclear weapon. They also can be used to accelerate objects to extreme velocities and compress objects to very high pressures and densities. This gives them a role as a physical research tool. The first work on these generators was conducted by the Center for Nuclear Research in the closed Soviet city of Saratov at the beginning of the 1950s, followed by Los Alamos National Laboratory in the United States. EPFCG weapons require a starting current pulse to operate that is supplied by capacitors which, since 1998, Iran has become one of the leading nations in the world in developing, as evidenced by recent reports in the European Journal of Scientific Research and the Canadian Journal on Electrical and Electronics Engineering. Virtually unknown to Western peoples about Iran's sophisticated military resources, including intercontinental ballistic and cruise missiles, optically guided smart bombs, unmanned aircraft, state-of-the-art torpedoes, and magnetic mines, etc., make it a nearly impregnable nation to attack without the use of multiple nuclear weapons. Equally unknown to the Western peoples, especially the Americans, was Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei telling Iranian military chiefs to expect war within weeks. At a recent War Council meeting during this past week, also, U.S. Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney gave the green light to Israel to attack Iran, a power whose engagement in war would involve the United States, noted by the influential Huffington Post, which nothing like this has ever happened before in American politics. Opposing Romney was former U.S. Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul, who, in addressing the U.S. Congress this past Wednesday, accused Washington of marching into legislation to have another war. When you put on sanctions on a country, it's an act of war, and that's what this is all about. I think this bill would be better named Obsession with Iran. Act 2012. Paul said, referring to a bill which has been approved by the House of Representatives and the Senate, targeting Iran's energy sector. seeking to raise the American public's awareness of an Iranian EMP attack their nation. A number of top U.S. officials and experts, including former CIA Director R. James Woolsey, conducted a forum yesterday called the Electronic Armageddon, where they predicted that within 12 to 18 months following such an attack, 90% of Americans would be dead. The former Iranian Revolutionary Guard member who worked undercover as a CIA agent for several years in the 1980s and 1990s, Reza Khalili, further warned that Iran already has been practicing with missile launches from ships that simply put the payload straight up and high in the sky. This is the signature of training for an EMP launch. Khalili confirmed it would take only 60 seconds for such a warrior to be launched, and the result would destabilize the infrastructure of America within hours. The American fears that Iran would launch an EMP attack that was further raised this past week. Iran's Navy Commander Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayeri stated that Iranian naval forces will extend their presence to the Atlantic Ocean in the near future, putting them upon the very doorstep of the United States. As noted by Israel's National Air Service, Arutz Sheva, however, the most likely war scenario would be an Iranian EMP detonation over the Saudi Peninsula, which would not only blind all of the U.S. military spy satellites, but would likely burn out all the U.S. CENTCOM Saudi theater communications back to the Pentagon. The White House would not even know Iran's EMP attack had begun before it was all over. In short, with an EMP nuclear device armed Iran, practically overnight and on any given Sunday, the world could wake up with Iran in total and irreversible control over 56% of the world's oil reserves. With Chinese total UN backing, the Saudi Peninsula will be called Khomeini, the 32nd province of Iran, to the freeing of millions of their fellow Shiites living under the brutal Western-backed regimes on Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, and assisting their Shiite allies in Syria.
I don't know
the war Iran has been planning for centuries is against their Sunni foes, which curiously has found the United States as their most crucial ally, who without any drop of Iranian blood being spilled, defeated their two worst enemies, Iraq and Afghanistan. To how this new great game will play out is to no one's knowing, other than to note that if the Western peoples, especially those in the United States, were given the truth that this war is about the Shiite branch of Islam warring against the Sunni branch to free those oppressed and living under the brutal Dark Ages rule of religious tyrants who subjugate women, they may decide their political leaders are on the very wrong side of history. Pushing westward and northward and southward. Ready to deliver onto this land.
I lost
he did according to his will. And he died. He came to the land that had two horns, which I'd seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him.
Can't get that back, guys. I don't know where that was coming from.
Boy, came up.
It should be right in here.
वहां से जा रहा था तो एक महसूल लेने वालों का सरदार था कि यीशु को देखना चाहता था। ध्यान दीजिए कि वह अंधा व्यक्ति यीशु के बारे में जानता था, परंतु उसके समक्ष दो बाधाएं थी। एक तो ये कि वह नाटा था और यदि वह भीड़ में घुस जाता तो संभव था कि कुचल दिया जाता, और दूसरा यह कि वह महसूल लेने वाले होने के कारण लोगों के घृणा के पात्र थे, परंतु वह यह जानना चाहता था कि यह कौन है। तो उसके मस्तिष्क में एक विचार आया।
En cómo estos softwares sí pueden focar su atención en las palabras y entender. O sea,
Can't get it back.
inteligencia artificial para precio de la partida.
परंतु वह इस लंबे रास्ते से होकर क्यों गया? मेरे विचार में वह जानता था कि यहाँ परमेश्वर का
The American people to lose heart, and there will not be home of the brave and land of the free any longer. You are going to see the American dollar collapse to such a degree that even the gold and silver standard shall become nothing. As I have spoken in my
Let's go to shortwave 2, guys. I don't think there'll be anything on it. Let's try. Hopefully we can hear some good news.
After 3 hours,
That's the clock.
What do you do?
कहे कि वह अपनी आधी संपत्ति कंगालों को देता है।
Let's go to shortwave 3. That on shortwave 3. Let's go public broadcast 1. Here's a little something. But it was. Let's go public broadcast 1. quiet. Got my squelch up. Alright, let's go PV2. Air. Aircraft. Ain't got nothing. Let's go on long wave. Normally there's nothing on them. I just want to check them out, guys. Let's go medium band. They're just so far away, I can't hear them good. And it's not super late. It's only 10:30. Let's just go to regular AM radio, guys, and see what we can hear before we finish. We wrap it up.
Losing control of your finances? If you owe over $1,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns.
That is out now. So I would focus on that. Get those numbers.
Now the pitch
a swing and a miss. Taylor down swinging.
Business in Fort Lauderdale years ago. There was a donut shop, and it featured topless.
Right now, even the third party doesn't really provide it, as Chase Oliver demonstrates. But during his appearance on Saturday night at the Libertarian Convention, to the dismay of Star Child, Donald Trump didn't promise his audience everything he wanted. But Trump did demonstrate that he's willing to break with the Republican Party establishment to win over voters who have been ignored for decades. He's made it clear that he's willing to make promises that Mitch McConnell won't be happy about in order to secure...
Americans earn and use credit card rewards. Corporate mega stores want to keep those rewards away. The Durbin Marshall credit...
What do you mean you're going to want one of those out?
Well, I would wear the outfit for my fiance. You know, do a little cleaning around the house.
Well, that's Aviva Vegas, Kendall in Vegas with her fetish report tonight. Kendall, thank you very much for being on Sterling every night. I smell ratings. Every time Kendall comes on, I smell ratings. I'm Walter and Sterling. This is Sterling's Texas Family.
Until I started prescribing Scrabble Pop. Yes.
Wowo.com.
NBA Insider Mark Slide with us, the Jason Spitzer with Mike Harmon Live.
Medicare Solutions.
Quote-unquote org guys who are breaking out and turning themselves into some really interesting players. What is it?
Threes. Anthony Edwards finished an assist shy of a triple-double. Mass ball short of the sweep. Look at that.
Expect that the jury will have this historic case, and the judge has warned everybody, including the entourage that seems to daily come with former President Trump, that nobody's going to be allowed into or out of the courtroom once the jury is deliberating.
Jurors sat through hours of closing arguments today. The White House condemned a deadly IDF strike over the weekend, but says it did not cross President Biden's red line because it was not a full-scale ground invasion into Rafah. 2 people remain unaccounted for after a building explosion in Youngstown, Ohio. The military is investigating the crash of an F-35 fighter in New Mexico. The pilot ejected in his...
We lost another F-35.
Your smart speaker is pretty smart. They can tell jokes, help you with...
How the heck can we keep losing our F-35s, guys?
Miles of high-speed fiber to give you the best possible experience. And we're not slow.
Investigating the shooting.
The man shot and killed is identified as 35-year-old Cornelius L. Brown. One man is dead and another is seriously wounded in a midday shooting in the back of the yards. Chicago police say the 2 men were standing near
50RA.com or call 800-575-40.
The expressways and the tollways right now.
News Radio.
No, lower band.
Car and business insurance.
Members of the State House are back at work. They're looking at the budget the state Senate approved late Sunday, the $53 billion plus package, similar to what Governor Pritzker put out on the table in February. Jurors in Donald Trump's election interference case are expected to get their jury instructions tomorrow from the judge, and then they will begin their deliberations. Several hours of closing arguments from both sides of the case today. The forecast from the WGN Chicago Weather Center. Cloudy, lingering showers, 54 overnight, mostly sunny, 67 tomorrow, 68 on Thursday, partly cloudy, 78 degrees on Friday. Right now, it is 58 degrees and mostly cloudy at O'Hare, 60 at Midway, light rain, and 54 at Waukegan. I'm David James, WGN News. Next news at 11 o'clock.
Moreno Guns needs your guns. We'll buy them all. Moreno Guns is paid top dollar. Professional gun buyers are on standby 7 days a week.
Alright, guys. I think that's enough news for us tonight. What do you think? I hope everybody's doing good out there in YouTube land. I'm getting sleepy. Thank you guys for listening to the radio, the news with me this evening. Hope everybody's doing good. And I hope you all have a great, great, great Wednesday. Until next time, guys, I'll see you right here at Redneck Ways. Bye, guys.